Are you able to hear me now clearly? Without the microphone? Okay. All right, so we got a good news that Kalpana has got her score and she just came here to inform us. And congratulations to you, Kalpana, from all of our side. And if one person comes with a good news, I believe it brings good luck to all the other students who are preparing. So thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate this effort of yours. And apart from that, obviously a good attempt, a good score, and all the very best for your future ahead. And let's really hope that getting this news, a lot of you will be motivated and would prepare hard to fall in this list of successful students of LA, right? And we all will do that. All right. Let's begin with today's test because to pass, we'll have to practice. So here you have your first question on the screen and you have 2.5 minutes to solve this, and then you have to post your answers in the chat box within 2.5 minutes. Please be very careful about time. Right, so your time starts now. Start solving and post your answers. All right, should be done. We have spent 2.5 minutes. Post your answers now. Am I audible now? Anybody can say yes or no. Thank you, thank you. Okay, fine. Post your answers. Okay, so this says, although some prevention efforts have succeeded, many analysts believe that the dash solution to the global AIDS. There are two things in this sentence. See, you have to be careful that whenever the sentence is very long, it's not always that they have written unnecessary and not useful things there. It is very important that to solve reading and writing blanks, we focus on understanding that what is the writing style. It makes a big difference in selecting our answers. So they started saying that although some prevention efforts have succeeded, means we have already made efforts and those efforts have succeeded also. Then we have the other side which says many analysts believe that the solution to global AIDS, the sentence is absolutely complete even without the blank, and the words which end with TION are nouns. When the sentence is complete and after the blank we have a noun, then we need to fill the blank with adjective. Adjective means what kind of solution it is. To the global AIDS crisis is the development of a vaccine. So first, some of you have written first solution, but how can it be first when the sentence already said that we have already made some efforts and they have succeeded? Means this is not going to be the first solution. Some of the solutions are already in place. So the next solution, next cannot be the answer, which none of you have written, because you understand that the next solution means it has to be 1, 2, 3, 4 only, then we can put next. Intermediate means the middle solution, which is again not possible. So we can go with ultimate means the best and the final and the last solution, because if we have already made some prevention efforts and some of them have succeeded and we are still trying to find more solutions, that means we have not got the best solution till now. So we'll say the ultimate means the final, the best solution to AIDS crisis is the development of a vaccine that will prevent people from dash AIDS in the first place. So this is a disease. What we have in the option is prevent people from passing AIDS. This is not about whether we want to stop the communication of AIDS. No, the problem is not to get AIDS. So prevent people from repelling. Repel is like we say in the magnet, we say the like poles repel each other, means they go away from each other, and the unlike poles attract each other. That is repel, means basically to say no to something. Contracting is to get, and suffering, we say we suffer from disease. Without from, we cannot say suffering. So like this was very common nowadays, the word contracting, that what was it in COVID? People are contracting COVID at workplace. Students are contracting COVID in school. So contracting means getting. And for contracting, we don't need from. Whereas with suffering, we need from, which is not here. So that will prevent people from getting AIDS. Getting means contracting in the first place. Many researchers believe that the development of a vaccine is possible and absolutely necessary in order to eradicate AIDS. Again, the sentence is complete, but still we have a blank. Vaccine is a thing. That means it's a noun. So we need to find out what kind of vaccine is required. We have remedial. Remedy means when you already have the disease and now you want to solve it. Solve the solution, that is called remedial. Curative is also used in the same sense. Antidote, antidote vaccine. Antidote cannot be an adjective. Antidote itself is a noun, that when we generally for poisons, to cure the poison, we get an antidote of the poison. That is how we use the word antidote. And preventive, because we don't want to get AIDS. We want a vaccine which will help us not to get the disease. That will be preventive vaccine. Then they say funding for research to develop an AIDS vaccine comes from several sources, mainly this initiative and these initiatives, US government agencies and few multinational pharmaceutical companies. In the dash, AIDS continues to spread in the developing world. So while we are doing all these things, in the dash, In the interim, in the period, in the instance, meanwhile. So instance goes with for instance, does not go with in the instance. In the period is we are talking about one particular time period which we are not talking about. Right, so here they say in the interim. Interim is also not a connector or a conjunction. So in the interim also does not convey anything. So preventive was the answer. Then what we are left with is in the meanwhile. In the meanwhile means while we are trying to make up a vaccine, while we are trying to fund the vaccine, while all this is happening, what is the other side happening? AIDS continues to spread in the developing world. Although successes have occurred, many experts contend that much more needs to be done. They argue that the dash to AIDS needs to be of greater duration, greater quality, and greater scope to reach the many areas of life. Answer to AIDS. AIDS is not a question that we can answer. Response and to are the words which go together. Prevention to, no, prevention goes with prevention from. We don't say prevent yourself to falling. We say prevent yourself from falling. So prevent or prevention goes with from, not with to. And again, we don't have to give a reply to AIDS. So we have to give a response, means what is our action to this disease? What are we doing in response to combating this problem, to solving this problem? That will be our response, has to be of very good quality, very good scope, and of great duration. Right, so the first answer is that the ultimate solution. So we don't need an ultimate, because an comes when you are saying there are many solutions and one ultimate solution. Only then you can say an. The is used when you are talking about a definite noun. Definite means there is only one. So you want to say the best, that is the ultimate. So contracting, because suffering needs from, which we don't have. What kind of vaccine we need? We need preventive. We don't want to, once we get the AIDS and then we want a remedial solution. No, we don't want the disease. That is prevent ourselves. And then in the meanwhile are the words which go together, which means while we are discussing this, at the same time, the world is suffering from this disease. And the last one, response to. It cannot be reply or answer to disease, and prevention comes with from. Okay. So I hope all of you are making notes of the discussion. Those who are just marking their answers right and wrong, this is very wrong thing that you are doing. You have to make notes, try to understand how to read, try to understand which things are important when we look at the answers. Okay, I have to see what word is written after the blank. That's a very important thing. I always have to read from full stop to full stop. I always have to see why, how many parts are there in the question. So those things are to be noted. Now, meanwhile always establishes a link between two things. So it meanwhile says when the first thing is happening, at the same time, the second thing is this which is happening. So meanwhile always has a connection between two sentences. Okay. Any doubts, anybody? Thank you. So here you have your question number 2 on the screen, and you have 2.5 minutes. No, while is used for, there's a slight difference. Meanwhile is, for example, we say that when the first thing was happening, at the same time the second thing was happening, and those two things are when we want to say exactly at the same time. But while also has comparison with it. With time, it also has comparison. And meanwhile only has time period. It has nothing to do with comparison or contrast. So that is the difference between meanwhile and while. Okay, while will also has an opposite thing also in the context. I'll try to get one sentence to make it clear. All right, question number 2, and you have 2.5 minutes for this, and then post your answers, please. All right, should be done. Good, very well done. This is done well. The savage, in spite of his membership of a small dash, lived a life in which his initiative was not too much hampered by the community. So the answer is community. Because of the word membership, we don't really get any membership of a country, kingdom, or families. And even if it was not very clear from this, then when we read the following sentences, they are not talking about any one kingdom or any family or country. They were just talking about society. They were just talking about a person, his neighbors. So it would be society or a community that there might be the question about. The things that he wanted to do, usually hunting and war, were also the things that his neighbors wanted to do. And if he felt and dash, so with and comes a noun starting with a vowel. So we can eliminate need because it does not start with a, e, I, or u. Awkward is not a noun. Awkward is a feeling. So enhancement and inclination are nouns. So if he felt an inclination is the answer. Inclination is if he felt any interest towards something, any curiosity to learn something. So inclination is getting likelihood towards something. So if he felt an inclination to become a medicine man, he only had to ingratiate himself with some individual already dash in that profession. So an individual who's already in that profession. So that person should be good in that profession, only then he can help us or the other person. So ignorant is a negative word. Duped is also a negative word. Duped means to deceive somebody, to trick somebody. So that's negative. And we cannot say a person is joined in this profession. Joined is a word which is used for joining the things together. Eminent means very reputed. A person who's very well known in some particular field is called an eminent. Like we say, he's an eminent writer, he's an eminent novelist. So means very well known. Reputed means he has done good work in his field. So if he wanted to be a medicine man, he only has to tell a person who's already very good in that field, and so in due course to succeed to his powers of magic. If he was a man of exceptional talent, he might invent some improvement in weapons or a new dash in hunting. So what can we use in hunting? Technology, management, device, or skill. So we are talking about a time when people used to just hunt and war. So primitive time period. So primitive is ancient time. There not used to be any technology for hunting. Management or device. Device is used for things like mobile phone, computer, mouse, keyboard are devices. So skills, people used to be more skilled than how to hunt. There should be skill in the work that they do. These would not put him into any opposition to the community, but on the contrary would be welcomed. The modern man lives, now from here starts the nowadays lifestyle. The modern man lives a very different life. If he sings in the street, he will be thought to be dash. So with B comes third form of verb. He would thought to be drunk. And if he dances, a policeman will reprove him for impeding the traffic. So basically, they were trying to compare the ancient lifestyle with the modern lifestyle. Savage, I looked for the meaning. Savage, one meaning of savage is a person belonging to an ancient time period. So they were comparing lifestyle in ancient time and the modern lifestyle that we have. And people used to be so relaxed, so free-minded, they could do whatever they want. But nowadays, if we feel like singing on the street, people would think that we are drunk. So people are so opinionated nowadays that we cannot even do a simple thing like singing on the street. So that would be drunk. So these are the answers. The first one would be community because there is no mention of any kingdom, family, or country. Second, an comes with a noun. So it will be an inclination, means likelihood, possibility towards something, your interest towards something. Already good in that profession means already eminent, already renowned, already a famous personality, a person who has done a lot of work and is really good at it, that is eminent. And he would develop, what was the word? He could invent some improvement in the weapons because in ancient time period for hunting, there used to be just few weapons.
or the skill that was very important, that what should be the distance you should be standing at and how to use the bow and arrow. So those were the skills. There was no technology. Technology would be like AI, artificial intelligence should be there, or management. As a corporate word, we use the word management. And devices obviously were not there. No cellular devices, no mechanical devices. There were simple tools. So in that time period, we can just use the word tools, weapons, just this, no devices. So there we will go with a new skill in hunting, maybe a new method of hunting. And then if a modern man sings in the street, we will think that he might be drunk, that he's singing aloud here, right? So these are the answers. After B, there is also continuous form of verb with, so sinning is not come. What is sinning? What is the meaning of sinning? Let's see if sinning has a meaning. Yeah, just one meaning, the same as to commit a sin is sinning, thought to be sinning. So see, think realistically. If a person is singing on the street, the maximum you'll think that he's lunatic. What he's doing, why is he singing here? You won't think that he's committing a sin. Like there's no sin in that. After had, we had to, yes, has, have, had always comes with third form of verb. Eminent is very well known, reputed. All right, anything else, anybody in this question? After B comes third form and ing. It depends upon whether it is active voice or passive voice, or we need a verb. The context is in ing form, that is present tense, or it should be past form. So writing style decides whether it should be ed or ing. Okay, third question on the screen, 2.5 minutes, and then post your answers, please. post your answers. There are some mistakes that you have done. Sometimes I think you don't think in this way that whether this particular word that we are selecting, can this word be used for the other word with which you are matching that word. So for example, you have written celestial life. We use the word celestial for things which are in the galaxy. We use celestial bodies like the planets, the satellites, or celestial bodies. We don't say celestial for life. Celestial is not a word that can describe any form of life. And the same way, alien life, we know what are aliens. But alien life is no combination. Aliens are those creatures, I can say, or those out of the world people that we think that they exist. So alien is a thing, particularly like a human. It's not alien life. Alien is not a word that can describe life. Circumstantial evidence suggests that if the basic building dash of life, so building blocks of life is a combination of words which you might have read in your science subjects during schools. Cell, the basic building block of life. So building blocks of lives is what cells are called, and it's a term, building block of life. If the basic building blocks of life are seen scattered in space, why not life itself? In the 60s, there started interdisciplinary discussions about dash life. So what kind of life? Extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial means something not belonging to the earth, belonging to outside of earth. That is called life outside earth, which is called extraterrestrial life. So if you did not know it, please note it down. So celestial is used for celestial bodies, like for satellites, moon, earth, planets. These are all celestial bodies. And alien is not a word to describe life. You want type of life, out of the earth life. That is extraterrestrial. The astronomers can tell what are the likely sites for life. Like nowadays, they are looking for life on Mars. So what are the sites where there is possibility of life? And how many of them are there in our Milky Way galaxy of stars? Biologists have to decide what is it that dash the life mechanism. So what is it? It is singular, so we need a verb with S. What is it that? Invoke cannot be the answer, it is without S. So impedals is a negative word. Stirs or triggers. Stirs means, like we say, stir the vegetable. In cooking we use stir. There's one more meaning of stir. Stir means excitement also. As a noun, stir means excitement also. But here the answer will be triggers. Triggers means what is it that starts the life mechanism. Triggers means to push it to happen, to cause it to happen. So that triggers the life mechanism. What is it that causes to happen the life mechanism? And where among the various astronomical sites it is likely to occur? Then the evolutionists have to say how a simple living system can develop over what time dash into a complex intelligent species. That if a simple living system means cell, basically, how a cell can develop over what time does it need to develop into a complex intelligent species like a human being. So what time, span, gap, test, or sequence? So what time span? Span basically means what time duration is required. That is time span. Time gap, we use between what is the time gap between the coming and the departing and arriving and departure of the train. That is time gap. So gap is used in that sense. Time test is like whether you will be able to complete something within the given time or not. That is time test. And sequence is like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will be time span. What time duration does a cell takes to be converted into a complex species? Experts in artificial intelligence, communications, and information transfer are needed to resolve the problem of contacting such species if they dash. So they is plural. We need a verb without s. So we need to contact the aliens. Such species can be aliens if they exist, because we don't even know 100% whether they exist or not. So if they exist, what are the possibilities that we can contact those species? Right? So building blocks of life can be taken together as a term. The second one, extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial means something not belonging to this planet, not belonging to Earth, out of the Earth thing. And third is, what is it that starts the life mechanism? What is it that makes it happen, the life mechanism? And the fourth one is time span. That means time gap. Sorry, time duration. What time duration, that is time span, is needed. And we need to contact those species if they exist, if they are there. Native would be of this. Native is like, you say she is native to Australia, means she is born and brought up of Australia. Native means of that particular area. So we cannot say discussions about native life. Native would be of Earth then, but the discussion was out of the Earth. That is why it is native. Time span, see, collocation, when I say collocation, then you people take it as only time and span can come together and no other word can come with time. That is why I've stopped saying collocation now. But collocation means this is a possible pair. But that does not mean that span cannot come with any other word or time cannot come with any other word. It is still possible that there can be some other combinations. But yes, time span is a collocation, is a combination. Right? Anything else, anybody? Right, thank you. So here you have question number 4, very big. Okay. Is it visible from the very first statement, a zero-ended rationalism? Can you see the first line? Okay. 2.5 minutes. Okay, those who are asking for repetition, like blank 3, blank 4, we repeat every blank 2 times. If after that you have some confusions, then you can go back to the video recordings and you can just go to that question and repeat it for you, okay? 2.5 minutes. And question number, what is it? Okay, solve it. Are we done? It's again the same mistake that you don't check the combinations. Like in the first blank, you have written explain. Most of you have written explain. So do you want the computer to have the capability to explain the meaning and function of 2 multiply and equal to? Do we really want computers to explain us this? Or we want computer to discuss this? Or do we want computer to arrange? That computer, please go and arrange a multiply for us. Can we really do this? We would just want computer to recognize these symbols. Recognition means when we type this, the computer's memory understands, recognizes, and it performs the action. Because if the computer does not recognize the symbol of multiply or the symbol of equal to, it will not give us the answer which we expect from a computer to do. So they said a zero-ended rationalism about computers is that they only do what they are programmed to. The reasoning goes something like this, that if one incorporates into a computer the capability to dash the meaning and function of the symbols representing 2 multiply and equal to, then it would have no problem solving this thing. Then if we enter into the computer the capability to recognize, if the programming of the computer knows the meaning of multiply, knows the meaning of equal to, it will solve this problem. But how we cannot say we want computer to explain multiplication to us or to discuss or to arrange multiplication for us. But how different is this really from a child learns in grade school? From what a child learns in grade school, it's exactly the same. There can definitely be no dash in certain children to be better in maths than others, since arithmetic, even at a lowly human level, is only an acquired trait. So they are comparing this with learning in school. So they are saying definitely there can be no dash in certain children to be better in maths than others. There can be no force, propensity, compulsion, or necessity. So obviously this is not a necessary thing that some children have to be better, or this is no compulsion that some children have to be better. Maybe in a class, all the students are good at mathematics, or maybe all the students are very poor at mathematics like me. So there can be, this is not a compulsion that it has to be there. And obviously there's no force, but there is a propensity. Propensity again means an inclination, the same word that we did in the previous blank. It exactly means an inclination or a natural tendency to behave. Now natural tendency or inclination means something which is in your genes. So naturally you are good at maths. So they are saying this here, that there can definitely be no propensity in certain children. Maybe their genes are not into maths anywhere. So then they say, after all, mathematics is just an acquired trait. We learn it. It has nothing to do with inheritance. However, what has been missing so far in the environment of a computer is the role of a family and the nurture it provides for a predisposition. So maybe predisposition is a bit heavy word to grasp. Predisposition means, for example, if all of your family members are very good in cricket, so there will be chances that you will also be good at cricket. That is called predisposition. And here they want to say the role of a family and the nurture it provides for a potential predisposition. Potential because you till now, or let's say till the age of 6, 7, 8, you have shown no interest in cricket, but because all of your family members are good at it, so there can be a potential possibility in you also, that if you get the required nurturing and your family pushes you towards it, so you also become very good, you turn out to be very good in it. That is potential that you might have, which you have not till now shown. That is called potential disposition. This is because genetically some children could have stronger musculature to become better cricketers or actors, but only when given the ambient training. So they can be, their build is very good that they can become a cricketer. They are very strong, they're very musculature like they have said, but still they need the training, but only if given the necessary, desirable, certain, or potential. So training will be necessary in that case. Only if they get the required and the necessary training, they can become that. Only with the help of their genes, they cannot become anything. The answer therefore lies not in suddenly blitzing a supercomputer's hardware, memory, and logic, bank its equivalent of musculature with the rules and dash of some table game, but to bring it home as a baby. So rules and dash of table game, can be a thing of a table game, practices of game, principles of game, rhymes, or strategies. So the most obvious word that we use with games is strategies of the game. There are no rhymes and practices. There can be principles of a game, but does not match with rules and principles. We'll say rules and strategies. These are the rules and these are the strategies you can use to play it. There are rules and strategies of the game. So these are the answers. This question I would classify as a bit on vocabulary side, but there were some really good words to learn. So these are the answers. First, we just want computer to recognize the symbols so that the computer can perform the action. The second, there is no propensity, no inclination in certain children that they have to be better. There's no compulsion, so no propensity. The third one, it provides for potential because it can be in you. We cannot be sure that if all of the family members are good cricketers, so you will definitely be. It is just a potential thing. And necessary training is required, even if you have some of the characteristics or some of the things, but still you need the necessary training. And with the right rules and strategies of the game, then they are comparing it with computer again. Potential is an adjective here, yes. Any doubts in this question, anyone? So make the combinations correct. That we want computer to explain, discuss, arrange, or recognize. Then if you have the right matching word, you will get the right answer also. Predisposition means a possible feature or a possible quality. That's how. Desirable is like I say, what is your desired band score? So that is not, desire is our wish basically. So desirable word comes from wish. Wish is a general word and its better academic version is desirable. What do you want to desire in your life? I wish to become this. I desire to become this or that. That is desirable. But the training is not just desirable. It is necessary for you. You have to get it. There's no option that we have. Right? So again, the same thing. Training cannot be potential. Potential is something that is possible for you to do. That is something like if I say he is a very potential student. Potential means he's not getting good marks. Maybe he's not getting good marks, but he can get good marks. That is what I'm saying, potential. That is called potential. Okay. Certain is fixed. Certain children, here, if we use certain with children, it will be some particular. Okay. I don't know the meaning of blitzing, that you can search in the dictionary. Okay. Next question, number 5, and the last one for reading writing blanks. Let's see if this fits. Okay. 2.5 minutes for this, and then post your answers, please. Okay, should be done. So this says, before the start of World War I, the Gibson girl was the rage. She did not date and waited until a proper young man dashed to her for marriage. Easy context. So proposed her for marriage. The other rejected, denied is not the topic, is not negative, or agreed to her for marriage is not the right word. Agreed for marriage is fine. However, nearly a whole generation of young men had died in the war, leaving a whole dash of young women without desirable suitors. So, a whole creation, lot, society, or generation. Cannot say a whole creation of young women. We just want to say that there were so many people, so many young women who could not find suitable men because a lot of men died in the war. So, lot is a very not a good level word to be used for human beings. Whole lot of human beings, particularly whole lot of girls, does not sound good. Not an academic language, I can say. A whole society is not used for just a group of girls, but we can say one generation of girls because the men of that particular generation had died. So you can say a whole generation were without suitable suitors. They decided not to waste away their young lives waiting idly for spinsterhood, but to enjoy life. The new women broke away from the set conventions, turned fashionable. They dashed the black wool stockings and became crazy about new fashions. Wore rayon stockings, feet, ankles, and calves formerly hidden were now on show. So, as I always used to say, please read the complete sentence because they'll always have a hint for you. So here they talk about two types of stockings. They dashed the wool stockings and became crazy about fashions. They wore rayon stockings. That means they said no to these stockings and instead they started wearing rayon stockings. So the previous one is they rejected wearing those ones. So we need a negative word. Adopted is a positive word. Discarded is a negative word. Here we are not talking about creating any stockings. Removed is very casual. We are not particularly talking about at one particular time they removed and they wore. No, they discarded means they stopped wearing. They just completely changed their whole dressing sense, their attire. So they stopped using those and they switched over to some new type of clothing. So that would be they discarded the first ones and they wore rayon stockings. The famous film star Louis Brooks became the ideal for young girls. Brooks' exuberant social life, her contacts with the wealthy, and her dash lifestyle. So, what kind of lifestyle? If we are talking about exuberant social life, means very high profile kind of life. Her contacts with the wealthy and her lifestyle. So, obviously, a good lifestyle. Glamour lifestyle is wrong. It has to be glamorous to serve as an adjective. Lavish lifestyle is a thing. Conservative is opposite of what the sentence is saying. Conservative would be very narrow. And superficial is not a word that can describe lifestyle. So we'll say lavish lifestyle inspired young girls to dash away from the Victorian traditions or repression and conventionality. So break away because they have already used this combination. Broke away means they just wanted to get away of those conventional things and they wanted to try something new and become modern. So this person was the inspiration that they break away from the conventionality, means those old thinkings and those repressive things. The Victorian cult of true womanhood preached piety and purity as the cardinal virtues for women. They were supposed to follow the dictates of men. So these were the things they wanted to break away from. They were supposed to follow the dictates of men, and domesticity was the chief ideal to be dashed to maintain chastity and purity. So we need third form. So here in this sentence they are saying that they had to do these things. So they had to follow men, they have to live a domestic life, and all these things were thought to be the ideal things to be pursued. Means they have to follow these things and only then they were considered pure. Basically that's what they're saying, to maintain chastity and purity. So these were the things they had to pursued, or they have to follow. Right, so these are the answers. First is young man proposed to them for marriage, and a whole generation is more academic than to say whole lot. Third one, they discarded, means they completely rejected that style that is discarded, and they were inspired by the lavish lifestyle of that person. Breakaway is a collocation. Breakaway means they want to come out of those rules and regulations which were imposed on them. That is breakaway. But at that time, they had to follow the dictates of men. Domesticity were the things that they have to pursue. So with B comes pursued. The meaning of shunned is to ignore. Ignored and shunned means the same. Removed, as I said, Reena, removed would be like at one point of time, somebody is removing the shoes and wearing some other shoes. So that is just one instance that we can use the word remove. But here we want to say they changed their lifestyle. They stopped using those things, and that is not removed. Okay. So I hope it's clear. Any questions, anyone? Okay, let's go to reorders. We have 3, I think. Yes. The first question, do your reorders properly today. You're not doing reorders very good recently. Do them properly, 2 minutes, and then put your answers. Only 2 correct answers. When I said do it carefully, this is careful answer. Mr. Kushal. Where is S in the options? Okay. So those of you, most of you have written A as the answer, and I have been repeating every single day that please find out a sentence which first tells you what is the topic, but all of you, every day you start explaining the topic. So you said study authors found that improved air quality under a federal program to reduce ozone pollution may have averted the loss of 1.5 billion birds during the past 40 years. If you put this as the first sentence, then in the other three sentences, you can only talk about pollution and birds. That's it. But you have a sentence which is telling you that which pollution are we talking about, which country are we talking about, why are we talking about birds, which is B. US pollution regulations meant to protect humans from dirty air are also saving birds. At least you first say that US pollution regulations are saving birds, and then you say how many birds. So every time you mess up the quantitative sentence and you put it first, and then you say that somebody is saving bird, before that you say 1.5 billion birds have been saved. So first go with what is the topic, that US pollution regulations, which were meant to protect humans, are also saving birds. So this is saving birds. And where have we got this information from? So concludes a new continent-wide study published today in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. So means this thing is concluded in the proceedings of this and that. And then that's nearly 20%. That means it has to refer to a numerical figure. So that's nearly, you first say 1.5 billion and then you calculate the percentage of 1.5 billion. So it will be 3 and 4. US can be used for United States. US is not the abbreviation. US is considered a standard form of writing United States. That is possible. With U.S. it is considered same as United States. That is the formal level of writing for United States. So they say there are 1.5 billion birds, and then you can refer it. That means this figure is 20%. Okay. Also, Sakshi, I explained yesterday that if you're saying this is also saving, right? So you have to find out that before this saving, something else should be saved. But that something else is already given in the same sentence. Then you can write that sentence. But if the protecting humans is not given in this sentence, then we cannot put it as the first one. For example, this sentence says US pollution regulations are also saving birds. Then it cannot be the first one. Then the first sentence has to talk about that it is saving something else. But because that something else is given in the same sentence, then we can write it. Okay. So don't start with explanations. Find the general sentences. Question 2, 2 minutes for this. Okay, should be done. Post your answers. So which is a sentence which is telling us that what is the topic, which carpet are we discussing in these 4 sentences. So we are discussing the carpet whose name is given in the D sentence, and this is given a clear kind of introduction. The Pazyryk carpet is the world's oldest example of a knotted pile carpet and is kept at the State Hermitage Museum in Russia. So this is the name of the carpet, and this is a clear introduction that which is this carpet. This is the world's oldest example of knotted carpet. Because when we say the carpet, that means we are referring to this carpet. So here also, when the carpet means we are referring to the carpet. So we first have to introduce that which carpet are we referring to in every sentence. And this also we discussed, I think this week, that in introduction generally comes the years also. When was something made? When was something started? That's also a part of introduction. So here we gave the name of the carpet. The second sentence, most of you have written correct with C because it tells you that when was it made. The carpet which was made out of wool, what is the material of the carpet, what was the time it was made, all these things will be part of introduction only. Is one of the most exciting examples of Central Asian craftsmanship from the Iron Age. That is the introduction part, 2 sentences. And then we have a story that ever since the carpet was discovered, means till from the day we have found that carpet from this tomb, experts have been puzzled by the vivid red, yellow, and blue colors of the carpet, which lay buried in extreme conditions for almost 2,500 years. So this was a confusion going on, and now they have solved that confusion. Now they have been able to uncover the secret behind the carpet using this high resolution X-ray fluorescence microscopy. So that would be now, because from the time that the confusion was going on, and now they have finally solved it, right? So 2 sentences of introduction and then 1 problem and the solution of the problem. Very well done. Some of you have done it very well. Okay, the last question for reorders, 2 minutes for this. All right, should be done. So in this, again, there was a very general statement, which was E, that currently only a very small portion of Earth's history is known. Very, very general statement. Earth's history is a very broad word, that we only know a little about the history of the Earth. And then there was one more sentence. Like I always say, the second sentence always explains what the first sentence is trying to say, because the first sentence is very general and may never give a lot of detail about what the topic is. So only a small portion of the Earth's history is known. Now, how small do we know? That is given in sentence C. They want us to take an example to understand that. Imagine the radius of the Earth is 6,000 kilometers, and what we have seen only is 100 or 200 kilometers. That's only that we have seen. That means very small portion. And this is an example that how small. If it is 6,000, we only know 100 or maybe 200. So this is called further explanation on the first sentence. And then they say rest of the core, we don't know what is it. Many unanswered questions revolve around the composition of rest of. The rest means out of 6,000, if we know 200, so where is the rest of 5,800? We don't know what the composition of the remaining Earth's core is. And then there were two sentences about moon, which is starting with reference to Earth, that unlike Earth, because the topic of Earth is going, then they related that unlike Earth, the moon has essentially been frozen due to low gravity, and samples from the moon will help provide evidence of something and something. So a lot of you have done it well, some of you, not a lot of you. But this should have been correct now. This was very easy. A and B is a very clear pair that you are starting to talk about moon, but first you will, those who are writing B first and then A, how are you starting when you're talking about Earth, then you're switching over to moon straight away? How can we do that? We are talking about Earth, so we have to establish a relationship that like Earth or unlike Earth, and then we introduce the other element, which is moon, and then you can keep talking about moon. There's no problem in it. Okay, so I hope this will help you. And let's begin with the reading blanks. 2 minutes for the first question, and put your answers, please. Okay, should be done. You're taking longer. Put your answers, please. Let's check. This is using the largest set of radiocarbon dates ever dash from a single Maya site. So radiocarbon dates, something that we have got from a site. Got can be we have obtained, which all of you have written correct. Archaeologists have developed a timeline that clarifies patterns leading up to two major collapses of the ancient civilization. So what kind of timeline they have made? A lot of you have written detailed, which is right, but because we have a word which also means detailed and it is more academic, so we should go with precise. Very detailed means precise, so it's a better word. Precise timeline that clarifies. Scientists have long dash over what caused what is known as the classic Maya collapse. So with have comes third form of verb. So they have gathered, or they have puzzled, they have assumed, because they don't know the answer. So they were long puzzled, means for a long period of time they were just puzzled that how can this happen, over what is called the classic Maya collapse in the 9th century. More recent investigations have revealed that the Maya also experienced an earlier dash in the 2nd century CE. So because in the context only they talked about two collapses, that means there was an earlier dash called the pre-classic collapse. So obviously they are talking about the other collapse, which is called the pre-classic collapse, that is even more understood. So how is it understood? Even more is used when we compare it with the previous one. So the previous one, we don't know the answer to the previous one. And the second one, we'll say even, this is even worse. So we'll say even more poorly understood, because we don't know the answers to the first one. So we cannot say this is better. Better is only when the previous one is good. The previous one is bad. So this is even more bad. So even more poorly understood. So this is the first one. We get the dates from a site, so it will be obtained. What kind of timeline? Detailed and precise. Precise is more academic. Scientists have long puzzled, means they were not, they were clueless, they were puzzled on how it can happen. And recent investigations showed that there was an earlier dash called the pre-classic collapse. So obviously there was an earlier collapse called pre-classic collapse that is even more poorly understood, because the previous one was poor, this is even more poor. So that is called poor, that is why it is poorly understood. So those who have written better, please understand the context to this extent that you should know that poor and better are very opposite words. So it simply depends on whether the previous one was understood or not understood, and the context is telling you that they were puzzled, they did not know how it happened, and you are saying the second one was better. Even more will be on the same side like the previous one was. Okay, clear now? Second question, 2 minutes for this, and post your answers, please. All right, should be done. Just one confusing answer which you have done wrong. But yes, it would be a bit confusing too. So let's see, Apollo 17 was the sixth Apollo mission to dash on the moon, which is to land on the moon, and the last to see humans walk on the surface. Dash, there are no firm plans from any space agency to dash humans to the moon in the near future. Robotic exploration has continued. So there we have though and therefore. Therefore needs a comma, which we don't have. So we'll go with though, because we have contrast in the sentence. Though there are no plans from any space agency to dash humans to the moon. So the answer was return, not send. So a lot of you just thought of from this point of view that they have to send humans to the moon, but they were actually making a comparison between humans and robots. The complete sentence might have given you a hint that they are saying there are no plans from any space agency to return humans to the moon, means to send humans to the moon, but they are now sending robots. Robotic exploration of the moon has continued. So here, yes, it was a bit tricky, but they were not just talking about sending. They were talking about they are not going to come back and send humans. That is, they are not going to return to humans to be sent on the moon. Now they are continuing with robotic exploration of the moon has continued. Dash, as scientists discovered evidence of water ice on its surface. And why are they continuing this? Particularly as, especially, or when we highlight one particular incident out of many. So it's a particularly as scientists discovered evidence of water signs there. So the third one was just from a different point of view, but yes, it could be confusing to select between send and return. The writing style was from the any organization's point of view that they're not going to send humans, they will continue with robots, right? So what are the missions? Missions are to land on the moon. That means to touch down the surface. That is to land on the moon. What have you written, Anand? Amand, what have you written in the first one? With two cannot come ed form. Two comes with V1, so landed is not possible. Any other question, anyone? We only have two options in capital, so how can we write usually at number 2? Though, even though are used when the sentence has a contrast in it. So in this one, we had a contrast that though nobody is going to send humans, but still the research will continue with robots. Yes, the sentence is complete. Robotic exploration of the moon has continued. Dash, as this is a condition. This is a specific condition that they have written. This is not one more explanation about the same point. If they continue with more explanation, then we put ing, means something should be happening. But the verb is already written. We don't need a verb here. So if the verb is not there, only then we can put ing form of verb. Right, Subhanya? Yes, Reena, but send is also, I think, really I'm going to send. Na? Send is also V1, so that cannot be a reason. So that is why I said it was confusing. Either they might have given us sent and return, then all of you would be going with return, because with two, we cannot say sent. But with send, yes, it would be a bit confusing. It would be very, very extra thinking that which viewpoint are they writing the sentence with. Okay. All right, so we have question number 3 on the screen and 2 minutes to solve this. All right, should be done. Good, very well attempted. Kazakhstan was once a nomadic, quiet country, much of it, in the words of Nikita Khrushchev, virgin land, when the country dashed independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. So something that happened in 1991 should be past tense, and we always use the word my country gained independence. We don't say took independence, we say gained independence. So gained is the word that we use with the noun independence. When the country gained independence from the Soviet Union, it began an often awkward dash to the modern centralized power of a settled people. So awkward, an awkward something. So we needed a noun, but even if it was not clear here, the next sentence made it clear. The most dash example of this transition. That means a transition was started here. It began an awkward transition. Transition basically means a change, a very big change. Transition to the modern centralized power of settled people. The most dash example, a word that can describe example of this transition may be the capital city Astana. So some of you have written significant. Significant means important. So if one particular country or a country is changing its lifestyle, its way of working, so we cannot say this example is important and that is not important. Here they wanted to say the most clear example of the change was their capital city, which grew from its earlier emptiness. And why it is clear, it's given here, because it used to be very empty and then it changed into a cultural, tech and dash capital. So a word, what kind of capital is a company, a country or a capital or a city can be called economic capital. It won't be business capital, because even tech would be business. There is a lot of technology, but there will be business. Cultural will also have business. So we cannot say business capital. Cultural, tech and economic capital. The kind of built overnight 21st century oil jungle that dash to mind. So jungle is singular. We need a verb with S that dash to mind cities like Doha or Dubai. That brings to mind that when we look at this city now, we recall Dubai. It looks like that. So it brings to mind cities like Doha or Dubai. So these would be the answers. The first one is with independence. We always use the word gains or gained depending on the tense. Second is because of this transition, we wrote the answer transition here. Most clear example, because the way the sentence continues, that from empty city, empty place, it turned into an economic capital or into a cultural capital or a tech capital. So that is a very big change. So it will be very clear thing. And when we look at this, it brings to our mind the cities like Dubai. So brings to mind means we think of. Right? Any questions, anyone in here? Economic capital is like we use the word financial capital. Lots of job opportunities, lot of investment of money. So that can be called economic capital. It can be in any form, but from money perspective. Okay. No worries. So here you have your second last question, number 4, 2 minutes for this. Okay, should be done. Spells cannot become extinct. Many old spells have been lost or dashed. So we need third form of verb, and spells cannot be extinct. Like they have said, magic spells. So this should have been an example for you, that can magic become extinct. So lost or forgotten, that they are, nobody knows about them now. So they are lost or forgotten over the years, but careful readers of medieval books can still recognize some of them tucked dash old tomes. So we needed a preposition, and there was only one that we have. Tucked within means tucked inside, but tucked within old tomes. There is a spell from a 10th century book which was one of the most wanted recipes for medical emergencies. It was created to dash poisoning and infections. So with two comes first form of verb. We had heal and cure. Healing is not for, not a very light word, that you will heal with time. Means this will become better with time is heal. But for poisoning and infection, we needed an emergency treatment. So that will be, we need a cure. We need something to do. So, created to cure poisoning and infections, magic spells are mentioned in some of the world's oldest resources. It also seems that people had dash magic even before they learned how to write. So, with had comes third form of verb. We had practiced and performed. If we select perform, that would be a one-time thing, that they had performed magic means finished then. But we are comparing it with learning how to write. That would be they had practiced magic. Practiced here is being used in place of learned only. That they have learned to how to do magic even before they learned how to write. So performed would be a one-time activity. So that's why it's better to go with practiced magic even before they learned how to write. Seeking spiritual or dash aid is still popular today, and many people turn to the old beliefs when they face hardship. So spiritual or what kind of aid? Divine. Divine is also used for like related to religion or God or doing meditation and those kind of things. That is spiritual or divine aid, divine help. Divine is related to calmness of mind and brain, not devotional. Devotion is when you show your dedication and devotion towards something. That is a different use. But we needed what kind of help they take. They take divine help, something to do with psychology, right? So these are the answers. Any doubts, anyone? Devotional books would be religious. Uh, Devotional, does it have an exact synonym as religious? Let me check. Devotional. Sacred or spiritual. So that would be the same thing as spiritual. So that is why we can, that is also a reason we can eliminate that. It has an exact synonym as spiritual. So we have to relate it to something of the same category, but not exactly the same meaning. So that would be divine. Right? So tucked within means when you go through those old books or history books or those anything that teaches you about history, in that you will somewhere find mentions of these kind of things which nowadays we have forgotten. That is tucked within means somewhere inside that it still lies. Okay. All right. The last question for today, number 5, and then we'll wind up. You have 2 minutes for this. Beginning is better than origin because origin itself means start, but beginning can be like beginning and ending. So according to tales and legends, the beginning of Chinese New Year started means how it actually, how did they started to celebrate that? So the beginning of Chinese New Year started with a fight against a beast called Nian. So what kind of beast it is, we need a describing word, and there's only actually one describing word, mythical beast called Nian, who had the body of a bull and the head of a lion. So this is something not real, so mythical. It was said to be a ferocious animal that lived in the mountains and hunted for a living. Dash the end of winter when there was nothing to eat. So we have two words in capitals. It cannot be against the end, it can be towards. When we were reaching to the end of winter and there was no food, it would come on the first day of New Year to the villages to eat livestock, crops, and even villagers, especially children, to dash themselves. So with to comes first form of verb, and we have to save and to protect. We cannot say to save, it can be to save themselves, but we can say to protect themselves. The villagers would put food in front of their doors at the beginning of every year. It was dash that after the Nian ate the food they prepared, it wouldn't attack people. So it was, with was comes ed form. So it was believed, because believed goes with what they're saying. It was said like this, or it was believed if it will eat the food, it won't attack people. Right? Fabled beast. What is the meaning of fabled? Famous, celebrated, renowned, imaginary. Not an exact meaning of mythical. It is given as a synonym, but not in the same context. So if you're using it for beast, it cannot be fabled. No, beginning here means that what was the reason that we started to celebrate, or where did it all started from? So the beginning of means how this whole concept started. Origin is more used to refer to the roots of something. That's how we use the word origin. So this originated in this year, or this festival originated when this thing happened. So this is not one particular day we are referring to. We are talking about the process here. So that is why it will be beginning. Okay. All right. So these were all the questions that we had to do today. And I hope you would have learned some things, particularly in reorders. Okay. So we do have a class tomorrow at the same time, 6:30 p.m. according to Sydney time. Tomorrow is Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. It's the last class for the week. Please do come back and do some practice so that you can apply those things on the weekends when you're practicing by yourself. And thank you so much for coming. Keep practicing, keep learning. Until that time, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Good night, all of you.